Hey guys, tonight we are traveling back in time, away from the hum of modern life and into the golden, hazy warmth of a world that existed 2,000 years ago. We are going to find ourselves in the city of Alexandria, a place of white marble and deep blue water, where the air is thick with the scent of sea salt and ancient wisdom. You are standing on a wide, sun-drenched avenue, and the light is so bright it seems to make the very stones of the city glow with a soft, inner radiance. You probably believe this modern convenience, the vending machine, is a product of our busy, plastic-wrapped century, something born in a factory or a brightly lit subway station. You might imagine it was a clever trick of the 1920s or a child of the Industrial Revolution. But the truth is much older and far more elegant, resting in the quiet, dusty corners of an Egyptian temple, where the first mechanical transaction took place long before the world knew what a factory was. Before you get too comfortable and possibly fall asleep halfway through, tap like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this odd mix of boredom and history. It keeps the channel alive and the stories just sleepy enough to help you drift off again next time. While you are settling in, feel free to share your location and what time it is for you in the comments below. It is always a comfort to know where in the world these stories are finding a home. Now, dim the lights. Let the world outside grow quiet, and turn on a fan if you like that soft, steady hum in the background. Let your shoulders loosen and your breathing slow. This is your time to drift. No rush, no deadlines, no noise. Just you, a little warmth in the air, and the faint whisper of history waiting to unfold. So, settle in, and let's ease gently into tonight's journey together. You find yourself walking down the Canopic Way, the grandest street in Alexandria. The sun is beginning its long, slow descent toward the Mediterranean, and the heat of the day is softening into a gentle, honey-colored warmth. You feel the weight of your linen robe against your skin, a light and breathable fabric that catches the slight breeze coming off the harbor. Your sandals make a rhythmic, steady sound against the smooth, pale pavement, a slow cadence that matches the beating of your heart. To your left and right, massive columns of white marble rise up toward a sky that is a deep, cloudless indigo. Everything here feels monumental, yet strangely quiet, as if the city itself is taking a deep, collective breath before the evening begins. As you walk, you notice the way the light plays on the surfaces of the buildings. There is a shimmering quality to the air, a mixture of fine desert dust and sea mist that softens the edges of the world. You pass the great library, a building so vast it seems to hold the thoughts of every scholar who ever lived. You imagine the thousands of papyrus scrolls resting in their wooden cubbyholes, the silent words of poets and mathematicians waiting to be unrolled. Among these scrolls are the works of a man named Hero, a brilliant engineer who spends his days turning the laws of physics into small, bronze miracles. He is a man who understands that air has weight and that water can be moved by invisible forces, and today you are heading toward a temple to see his most practical invention in action. The temple of Serapis looms ahead, a structure of dark granite and polished limestone that seems to anchor the city to the earth. You move toward the entrance, leaving the bright glare of the street for the cool, echoing shadows of the portico. The transition is a relief. The air here is cooler, smelling of frankincense and the damp, stony scent of ancient foundations. You feel the temperature drop a few degrees as you step onto the shaded floor, and the sounds of the city, the distant shouts of merchants and the braying of donkeys, begin to fade into a muffled, distant hum. You are entering a place of ritual and order where time moves a little more slowly and every action has a purpose. In the center of the courtyard stands a bronze vessel. It is tall and slender, shaped like a graceful urn with a narrow neck and a wide, rounded body. It sits on a pedestal of dark basalt, looking more like a piece of art than a machine. This is the device you have heard of, the first of its kind. It is a mainstream historical fact that Hero of Alexandria created this machine specifically to dispense holy water to temple visitors. It was a response to a very human problem: the tendency of pilgrims to take far more water than they were entitled to, leaving the basins empty for those who came later. It was, in essence, the world's first automated solution to human greed. You reach into the small leather pouch at your waist and feel for a coin. Your fingers brush against the cool metal, and you pull out a heavy 5-drachma piece. It is a solid coin, slightly irregular in shape but satisfyingly thick. You feel the raised profile of the ruler's face and the rough texture of the edges. You hold it up to the light, and the silver, copper alloy catches a stray beam of sun, reflecting a dull, metallic spark. This coin is the key to the machine. You move closer to the bronze vessel, noticing the fine engravings that decorate its surface, images of flowing rivers and geometric patterns that seem to move if you stare at them long enough. There is a small, rectangular slot near the top of the urn, its edges smoothed by the passage of thousands of previous coins. You notice the subtle irony that even in this ancient, sacred space, a mechanical gatekeeper has been installed to ensure fairness. A quirky tidbit that many people forget is that this machine was essentially the world's first honesty box, but one that used the unyielding laws of gravity rather than the fickle conscience of a human to enforce the rules. It didn't matter if you were a wealthy merchant or a humble laborer. The machine only recognized the weight of the coin. You pause for a moment, the coin balanced between your thumb and forefinger. The silence of the temple is profound, broken only by the distant, rhythmic drip of water somewhere in the shadows. You feel a sense of anticipation, a quiet curiosity about how such a simple object can trigger a complex series of events. Historians still argue whether these machines were common features in every neighborhood temple throughout the Mediterranean world, or if they were rare, expensive curiosities reserved only for the grandest sanctuaries of Alexandria and Rome. Some believe they were widespread, a standard piece of temple infrastructure, while others suggest they were the high-tech novelties of their day, designed more to impress the faithful with the power of Greek engineering than to actually manage water supplies. You lean forward and slide the coin into the slot. It doesn't fall with a clatter, but with a soft, sliding sound as it enters the internal wooden chute. You imagine the coin traveling down a dark, smooth path inside the bronze body, gravity pulling it toward a small, balanced plate. You can almost feel the mechanical weight shifting as the coin lands. Inside, a lever is tilting. A valve is opening. A hidden world of gears and pulleys is coming to life, all because of that one small piece of metal. You stand perfectly still, your eyes fixed on the slender bronze spout that curves outward from the base of the urn like the neck of a swan. Then you see it. A thin, shimmering stream of water begins to flow from the spout. It is clear and cool, splashing softly into the shallow marble basin below. You hold your hands under the stream, feeling the refreshing chill of the water against your skin. It is a steady, regulated flow, neither too fast nor too slow. You wash your face and hands, the moisture evaporating quickly in the dry Egyptian air. The water flows for only a few seconds, just long enough for a proper purification. And then, as the coin slides off the internal plate and falls into the collection box, the flow stops. The valve closes with a muffled, decisive click, and the machine returns to its state of silent, expectant rest. You stand there for a moment, drying your hands on the edge of your robe, marveling at the simplicity of the transaction. There was no priest to haggle with, no basin to find empty, no complicated ritual to follow. Just a coin, a weight, and a result. You look at the bronze vessel again, and it seems to have changed in your eyes. It is no longer just a decorative urn. It is a testament to the brilliance of a man who saw the potential for automation in the most sacred of places. You feel a deep sense of calm, a realization that the human desire for order and convenience has remained unchanged for thousands of years. The light in the temple is growing longer and more orange as the sun sinks further. The shadows of the columns stretch across the floor like the fingers of a giant, and the air is becoming still and cool. You decide to stay in the courtyard for a while, sitting on a stone bench and watching the dust motes dance in the fading light. You think about Hero in his workshop, surrounded by bronze tubes and leather bellows, dreaming up ways to make the world work a little more smoothly. You think about the people who will come after you, their own coins in hand, seeking the same small moment of mechanical grace. The world of Alexandria is a world of wonders, and tonight you are content to simply be a part of it, drifting slowly toward the evening in the shadow of the first vending machine. The silence of the temple is a heavy, comfortable blanket. You feel your breathing slowing down, matching the steady, slow rhythm of the city as it prepares for sleep. The bronze machine stands before you, a silent partner in the long history of human ingenuity, waiting for the next coin, the next hand, the next moment of quiet wonder. You let your eyes close for a second, the image of the swan-necked spout and the silver stream of water lingering in your mind. This is a place of peace, a place where the ancient and the modern meet in the simple tilt of a lever. You are still resting there on the stone bench, the cool granite pressing through the thin fabric of your robe. The temple courtyard has become a theater of shadows, and you find yourself staring at the bronze urn as if it were a living thing. It stands so perfectly still, yet you know that inside its metal skin, a mechanical heart is waiting for the next spark of movement. The air in this sanctuary is heavy and slow, a mixture of the sharp, metallic tang of the bronze and the soft, floral notes of the white lilies that grow in the corners of the courtyard. You watch a single oil lamp flickering in a niche in the wall, its flame a tiny, golden dancer reflected on the polished surface of the machine. The light is soft, rhythmic, and incredibly gentle, casting long, wavering lines across the marble floor. It is a mainstream historical fact that Hero's machine was placed at the entrance of temples not just for convenience, but for purification. In the ancient world, Entering a sacred space required a symbolic washing of the hands, a way to leave the dust and the worries of the marketplace behind. You think about the thousands of people who have stood where you are now, their minds full of prayers and their pockets lightened by a single coin. There is a strange, quiet irony in the idea of paying for a blessing, a sort of proto-subscription to the divine. It seems the gods, for all their infinite power, still required a little silver to keep the gears of the universe, or at least the gears of the temple, running smoothly. You find the thought a bit amusing, a gentle reminder that even the most spiritual of rituals has a practical, earthy side. You look down at your hands, still slightly damp from the water. The moisture feels cool and light, a refreshing contrast to the residual heat of the Egyptian evening. You imagine the water sitting inside the reservoir of the machine, a silent pool of purity. A quirky and somewhat fringe tidbit that scholars sometimes whisper about is the idea that the water inside these machines was occasionally treated with natron, or a mixture of salt and herbs, to keep it fresh in the sweltering heat. This would have given the holy water a distinct, slightly sharp scent, a clean smell that would have signaled to the pilgrims that they were truly being purified. It was a masterpiece of hygiene as much as it was of engineering, a way to ensure that the temple stayed a sanctuary of health in a crowded, dusty city. The stillness of the courtyard is so deep that you can almost hear the heartbeat of the building. You notice the way the marble columns seem to lean in, as if they too are curious about the mechanical wonder at their feet. Historians still argue whether these machines were intended to make the temple experience more efficient for the priests, or if they were designed primarily to create an illusion of divine presence through automation. To a person who had never seen a gear or a lever, the sight of water flowing from a bronze urn at the touch of a coin must have felt like a small, controlled miracle. It was a way to bridge the gap between the mundane world of commerce and the mysterious world of the gods, using the language of physics to tell a story of faith. You find yourself focused on the swan-necked spout again. It is a beautiful piece of craftsmanship, its curves so smooth they seem to have been shaped by the water itself, rather than by a blacksmith's hammer. You imagine the internal plug, a small, perfectly fitted piece of metal that sits in the exit hole of the tank. It is held down by its own weight and the pressure of the water above it, a silent sentinel that only moves when the lever tells it to. You think about the chain or the string that connects the plug to the lever arm. It must be strong yet flexible, a vital link in the mechanical chain of cause and effect. Everything inside that bronze shell is a lesson in balance, a physical equation where every action has a predictable, certain reaction. The light in the temple is changing as the last of the sun's glow disappears from the high windows. The indigo sky is now visible through the open roof, and the first few stars are beginning to twinkle like distant, cold fires. You feel a sense of profound relaxation, a drifting, dreamy state where the boundaries of time seem to blur. You are in Alexandria, yes, but you are also in a place that exists outside of history, a sanctuary of quiet thoughts and steady rhythms. You watch a moth fluttering around one of the oil lamps, its wings casting large, erratic shadows on the wall. The movement is distracting, but in a pleasant, hypnotic way that makes your eyelids feel even heavier. You think about the 5-drachma coin that is now resting at the bottom of the machine's collection box. It is no longer a piece of currency. It is a weight, a physical force that has fulfilled its purpose. You imagine it lying there among dozens of other coins, a silent pile of silver and copper. There is a repetitive beauty in the cycle. Coin weight, lever, water. It is a loop that could go on forever, provided there is a priest to refill the tank and a pilgrim to provide the coin. It is a song of bronze and water, a mechanical lullaby that has been playing for 2,000 years, even if most of the world has forgotten how to hear it. The temperature in the courtyard has dropped, and a cool, salt-tinged breeze is blowing in from the harbor. It ruffles the surface of the water in the basin, creating tiny, shimmering ripples that catch the light of the lamps. You pull your robe a little tighter around your shoulders, the fabric soft and comforting against your skin. You are in no rush to move. The world outside the temple can wait. The deadlines, the noise, and the busy streets feel like they belong to another life entirely. Here, there is only the shadow of the columns, the scent of the lilies, and the silent, dignified presence of the machine. You find yourself contemplating the texture of the stone beneath you. The granite is smooth and cold, worn down by centuries of use. You run your hand along the edge of the bench, feeling the minute imperfections in the rock. It is solid, unchanging, a perfect foundation for a city built on ideas. You think of Hero again, the man whose mind could see the hidden connections between a falling weight and a flowing stream. He was a master of the invisible, a man who understood that the world is governed by laws that are as unyielding as the stone you are sitting on. His machines were not just toys. They were a way of making those laws visible, of turning the abstract into the tangible. The darkness is deepening, and the temple is becoming a world of silhouettes. You see the bronze vessel as a dark, elegant shape against the pale marble of the floor. It looks almost like a person standing in silent prayer, its swan neck bowed toward the basin. You feel a sense of companionship with the machine, a shared stillness that is incredibly soothing. You are both waiting for the night to deepen, for the stars to wheel across the sky, and for the quiet promise of the morning. The rhythm of your breathing has slowed to a deep, regular pace, and you feel as though you are sinking into the very stones of the temple. You imagine the internal workings of the machine once more, but this time you see them in slow motion. You see the coin sliding down the chute, a slow and graceful descent. You see it landing on the plate with a soft, muffled sound, the weight gradually overcoming the resistance of the lever. You see the arm of the lever rising, the string pulling taut, the plug lifting with a gentle, watery sigh. And then, the flow, a silver thread that breaks the silence and brings a moment of life to the courtyard. It is a process of pure, unadulterated logic, a mechanical poem where every line follows the one before it with perfect clarity. The ironic thought returns to you, the idea of a God in a box, or at least a divine service in a box. You wonder if the pilgrims ever tried to cheat the machine, perhaps by using a lighter coin or a piece of lead shaped like a drachma. You can almost see a young, mischievous boy trying to fish his coin back out with a bit of sticky resin on a string. It is a very human image, a reminder that wherever there is a system, there is someone trying to find a way around it. But the machine is honest. It doesn't judge. It just weighs. If the weight isn't there, the water doesn't flow. It is a simple, fair arrangement, a contract written in bronze. The scent of the lilies is stronger now in the cool night air. A thick, sweet perfume that seems to fill your senses and cloud your thoughts in the most pleasant way. You feel a gentle heaviness in your limbs, a sign that the walk through the city and the time in the temple have done their work. You are ready to let the world go, to drift away on the steady, rhythmic hum of history. The bronze vessel is a steady anchor, a fixed point in a world of shifting shadows. You let your gaze wander across the courtyard, taking in the soft glow of the lamps, the dark lines of the columns, and the deep, infinite blue of the sky above. Everything is in its place. The machine is silent, the water is still, and the city is falling into a deep, restful slumber. You are part of this peace, a quiet observer in a sanctuary of ancient genius. You think of the millions of coins that have yet to be minted, the millions of machines that have yet to be built. But for now, those things don't matter. All that matters is this moment, this courtyard, and the slow, hypnotic movement of the shadows. You are calm, you are relaxed, and you are ready to move deeper into the night, carried by the soft, rhythmic whisper of the first vending machine. The silence of the temple is like a deep pool of water, and you are slowly sinking into it, feeling the coolness and the quiet wrap around you. The story of the bronze urn is not a story of loud inventions or dramatic changes. It is a story of a small, clever idea that found its home in a place of ritual and peace. It is a story of balance, of weight and measure, and of the simple joy of a predictable result. You let that sense of balance fill your mind, a steady and comforting presence that guides you toward rest. The night is long, the temple is safe, and the machines of the ancient world are watching over you with a silent, mechanical grace. You find yourself standing up from the cool stone bench, the granite having left a slight chill against the back of your legs. The courtyard of the temple of Serapis is now fully submerged in the deep indigo of the Egyptian night. You move slowly, your sandals whispering against the polished marble floor, making a soft, rhythmic sound that echoes gently off the high, dark walls. The bronze vessel remains where it was, a silent, dignified shape on its basalt pedestal, catching the pale light of the moon that now hangs directly above the open roof. You feel a strange pull toward it, a desire to understand not just what it does, but how it exists within this sacred space. The air is perfectly still, and the scent of the white lilies has become even more concentrated, a thick, sweet perfume that seems to slow your movements and quiet your mind. You reach into your leather pouch once more, and your fingers find another 5-drachma coin. This one feels slightly warmer than the last, having sat against your skin for the last hour. You pull it out and hold it up to the moonlight. It is a mainstream historical fact that Hero of Alexandria's designs were meticulously recorded in his treatise, Pneumatica, where he described the exact dimensions and weights required for these temple machines to function. This coin in your hand is not just currency, it is a calibrated physical key. You feel the weight of it, the heavy, reassuring mass of the metal, and you realize that this small object is the only thing that can bridge the gap between the silence of the machine and the flow of the water. It is a masterpiece of early logic, a world where value is translated directly into movement. As you approach the urn, you notice the way your shadow stretches out before you, long and thin, reaching toward the bronze base. You stop a few inches away, close enough to feel the faint, metallic radiance of the bronze. The urn is cool to the touch, and you run your hand over the smooth, rounded side, feeling the minute imperfections and the fine grain of the metal. A quirky and somewhat fringed tidbit that scholars of ancient mechanics often discuss is the possibility that the internal lever of this machine was connected using a string made of twisted animal gut, much like the strings of a lyre. This material was chosen for its incredible strength and its ability to remain flexible in the humid air of the temple. You imagine that hidden string inside, a tensioned cord of organic matter waiting to translate the downward drop of a coin into the upward lift of a bronze valve. You find the small, rectangular slot again. It is a dark, inviting opening in the polished surface. You think about the internal chute that waits behind it, a wooden ramp smoothed by the passage of time and metal. Historians still argue whether these automated devices were a standard feature in every major temple across the Roman and Egyptian world, or if they were rare, high-tech wonders reserved only for the most prestigious sanctuaries, designed to leave the common pilgrim in a state of religious awe. Some believe the machines were common enough that children would have treated them with the same casual familiarity we treat a modern vending machine today, while others argue they were the smartphones of the ancient world, expensive, impressive, and limited to those with the means to visit the grandest cities. You position the coin at the edge of the slot. You feel the resistance of the metal, the way the coin fits perfectly into the narrow opening. You release it, and the sound is not a sharp clink, but a soft, sliding whisper as the 5-drachma piece travels down the internal wooden ramp. You close your eyes for a moment, letting your other senses take over. You imagine the coin falling through the dark interior of the urn, landing with a soft, decisive thud on the horizontal plate of the lever. You can almost feel the mechanical shift in the air. The lever, balanced on its central bronze pin, begins to tilt. The weight of your coin is just enough to overcome the counterweight on the other side. As the plate sinks, the gut string pulls taut, and somewhere deep inside the vessel, a bronze plug is lifted from its seat at the bottom of the water reservoir. Then, the silence of the night is broken by a gentle, rhythmic splashing. You open your eyes to see the silver stream of water emerging from the swan-necked spout. It is a clear, continuous ribbon of liquid, catching the moonlight and turning it into a shimmering, moving cord. You hold your hands beneath it once more, the water feeling even colder now that the air has cooled. It is a sensory delight, the coldness of the water against your skin, the soft sound of it hitting the marble basin, and the sight of the ripples spreading outward in perfect, concentric circles. This is the reward for your coin, a moment of purity, a mechanical gift from the mind of an engineer who lived 2,000 years ago. You watch the water flow, and you find yourself counting the seconds in your head, a slow, internal rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inside the urn, the coin is already beginning its final movement. Because the tray is tilted, the 5-drachma piece cannot stay balanced for long. It slides toward the edge, a slow and graceful journey across the smooth metal. As it reaches the point of no return, it tips over the side and falls into the collection box at the base of the pedestal. You hear the faint, muffled sound of the coin joining the others, a metallic sigh that signals the end of the transaction. Without the weight of the coin, the lever swings back to its original position. The gut string goes slack, and the bronze plug sinks back into its seat, cutting off the water with a quiet, watertight finality. The stream of water narrows to a few lingering drops, which fall into the basin with a rhythmic, fading cadence. You stand there, your hands wet, and your mind at peace, marveling at the sheer reliability of the system. There are no batteries to fail, no wires to fray, no complex screens to glitch. There is only the weight of the coin and the pull of the earth. It is a perfect, closed loop of physics. You find the simplicity of it incredibly grounding. In a world where everything seems to be getting more complicated, the machine offers a reminder that the most elegant solutions are often the oldest ones. You dry your hands on the edge of your robe, the linen feeling soft and slightly rough against your skin. The temple is very still now, and the shadows of the columns have shifted slightly as the moon continues its slow journey across the sky. You feel a sense of profound connection to the past, a realization that the human experience is a long, continuous thread. The desire for convenience, for ritual, and for a bit of mechanical magic is not a modern invention. It is a part of who we are. You look at the bronze vessel, and you see not just a machine, but a reflection of the human spirit, the restless curiosity that leads us to look at a lever and a weight, and see a way to serve the gods. You decide to stay by the machine for a while longer, sitting cross-legged on the cool floor. You watch the flickering oil lamp in the niche, its light a steady, rhythmic pulse that matches the beating of your own heart. You think about Hero in his workshop, the smell of the charcoal fire, and the sound of the bellows. You think about the scribes who copied his words, their pens moving across the papyrus with a slow, hypnotic scratching. You are a part of that history now, a witness to the enduring power of a single, brilliant idea. The darkness of the temple is not a void, but a sanctuary, a place where the noise of the world is replaced by the quiet, steady hum of ancient genius. Your breathing has become deep and regular, and you feel a gentle heaviness in your limbs that makes it easy to stay still. The world outside the temple, the bustling harbor, the busy markets, the crowded streets, all feels like a distant memory. Here there is only the moonlight, the scent of the lilies, and the silent, dignified presence of the bronze urn. You let your mind drift, the thoughts moving slowly and rhythmically like the ripples in the water basin. You are at peace, you are relaxed, and you are ready for the next part of the journey, moving deeper into the mechanics of the master's workshop. But for now, you simply rest in the shadows, a quiet observer of the first vending machine. The story of the lever and the coin is a lullaby of movement and weight. It is a song that tells you that everything is in balance, that every action has a meaning, and that the world is governed by laws that are as steady and reliable as the moon above. You let that song fill your mind, a comforting and rhythmic presence that guides you toward the quietest corners of history. You are calm, you are safe, and you are ready to let the night carry you forward. You find yourself rising from the cool marble floor of the temple, your movements slow and fluid, as if you are moving through water. The silver light of the moon continues to spill through the open roof, But you are ready to follow the thread of this mechanical story back to its source. You leave the quiet courtyard and the bronze vessel behind, walking out into the night, cooled streets of Alexandria. The air here is different than the heavy incense-laden atmosphere of the sanctuary. It carries a sharper, more energetic quality, smelling of the distant sea and the faint, earthy scent of charcoal fires that never quite go out in the city of scholars. You walk with a steady, rhythmic pace, your sandals tapping softly against the wide paving stones of the museum district. This is the intellectual heart of the ancient world, a place where the pursuit of knowledge is a constant, quiet hum beneath the surface of daily life. As you walk, you notice the tall, white walls of the great library, rising up like cliffs of stone against the starry sky. You imagine the millions of words resting inside, the collective memory of humanity written on scrolls of papyrus and parchment. You are heading toward a smaller, more industrious building nestled among the grand halls of the museum. This is the workshop of Hero, the man who saw the world as a grand machine, waiting to be understood. You reach the heavy timber door of the workshop and place your hand against the rough, sun-dried wood. It feels warm to the touch, as if the creative heat of the day has been trapped within the fibers. You push the door open, and it moves with a silent, heavy grace, welcoming you into a space where the boundaries between magic and mechanics are blurred. The interior of the workshop is a labyrinth of shadows and soft, orange light. Several oil lamps are positioned on high shelves, their flames casting long, wavering flickers over a landscape of bronze and wood. You feel the temperature rise as you step inside, a dry, comfortable heat that smells of old parchment, metallic dust, and the sweet, heavy aroma of olive oil used to lubricate gears. It is a mainstream historical fact that Hero's Nomatica, the very book that contains the secrets of the vending machine, describes more than 80 different devices, ranging from steam-powered spheres to mechanical singing birds. You see these inventions everywhere you look: bronze tubes coiling like snakes across workbenches, wooden pulleys hanging from the rafters like dormant bats, and stacks of fresh papyrus covered in intricate charcoal sketches. You walk deeper into the room, your eyes following the rhythmic dance of the shadows. In the center of the workshop stands a large, circular table made of dark cedar. It is cluttered with the tools of a master: small bronze hammers with heads no larger than a thumb, delicate calipers made of bone, and bundles of reed pens sharpened to fine points. You notice a large, unfinished model of a mechanical organ in one corner, its bronze pipes glowing softly in the lamplight. It is a masterpiece of complexity, a machine designed to turn the invisible pressure of air into the visible beauty of music. You find a high wooden stool in a quiet corner and sit down, letting the industrious peace of the workshop settle over you. The air is still and warm, and the only sound is the slow, steady ticking of a water clock on the far wall, a rhythmic drip, drip, drip that marks the passage of time with mechanical precision. A quirky and fringe tidbit that adds a touch of whimsical wonder to this space is that Hero was not just interested in practical tools. He was obsessed with the theater. He designed elaborate, automated theaters that could perform entire plays without a single human actor. These machines used a complex system of falling weights, winding ropes, and hidden pegs to move tiny bronze figures across a stage. changing scenes, and even creating the sound of thunder. You see one of these miniature stages resting on a shelf nearby, a wooden box decorated with scenes of the gods, its internal clockwork waiting for the touch of a lever. You imagine the tiny figures moving with a slow, hypnotic grace, a silent performance that has been waiting 2,000 years to begin. It is a reminder that for Hero, mechanics was a form of poetry, a way to tell stories through the language of movement. You lean forward, your elbows resting on the edge of a workbench, and you find yourself staring at a pile of bronze gears. They are of all sizes, from large wheels with heavy teeth to tiny, delicate discs that look like they belong in a watch. You notice the way the lamplight catches the edges of the metal, creating a shimmering, golden outline. Historians still argue whether Hero was a singular, isolated genius who birthed these ideas from a void, or if he was primarily a brilliant synthesizer and compiler who took the earlier, rougher works of men like Ctesibius and refined them into the elegant, functional designs we see today. You find a gentle comfort in this debate, the idea that knowledge is a shared river, flowing from one mind to another, growing deeper and wider with every passing century, whether he invented the gears or simply perfected them. The workshop around you is a testament to a mind that refused to see anything as impossible. The darkness of the night is a heavy, velvet curtain outside the high windows, but inside the workshop remains a pocket of warmth and light. You imagine the master himself, Hero, standing at this very bench in the quiet hours of the morning. You see him in your mind's eye, his hands covered in the grey dust of the forge, his eyes focused on the alignment of a valve. He is a man of incredible patience, a man who understands that a great machine is not built in a day, but in 1,000 small, perfect moments of attention. You feel a sense of profound relaxation as you contemplate this slow, deliberate process. There is no rush here, no pressure of deadlines or modern noise. There is only the metal, the wood, and the steady, certain laws of physics. You reach out and touch a small, unfinished bronze sphere that sits on the bench. It is cool and smooth, its surface showing the marks of a fine file. This is a prototype of the Aeolipile, the world's first steam engine. You imagine it filled with water, sitting over a small fire, the steam building up until it rushes out of the nozzles and sends the sphere into a dizzying, wearing spin. It is a rhythmic, hypnotic movement that creates its own small breeze in the workshop. Even now, in its static state, the sphere seems to pulse with potential energy. You find the thought of that motion incredibly soothing. The idea of heat being turned into movement, of the invisible becoming visible. It is a song of steam and bronze, a mechanical lullaby that has been playing in the background of human history for millennia. The workshop is filled with the boring details of creation that most people overlook. You notice the way the scrolls are stored in cedar boxes to protect them from insects, and the way the different types of oil are kept in small ceramic jars, each labeled with a different color of wax. You see the various grades of sand used for polishing the bronze, from coarse grit to a powder as fine as flour. These small, mundane details are the foundation of Hero's genius. He understood that to make a machine that works perfectly, you must first understand the materials you are working with. You find a sense of security in this level of detail, a feeling that everything in this room has a purpose and a place. It is an environment of total order, a sanctuary where the mind can finally let go of the chaos of the world. The rhythmic drip of the water clock continues, a steady, pulsing cadence that seems to govern your own breathing. You feel your heartbeat slowing down, matching the slow, mechanical pulse of the room. Your eyelids are becoming heavy, the warmth and the soft light making it easy to drift into a state of deep, comfortable relaxation. You are no longer just a visitor in a workshop. You are a part of the history of invention, a silent witness to the birth of the automated world. You think about the vending machine in the temple and how it started here as a series of sketches on a piece of papyrus and a pile of raw bronze. You see the connection between the master's hand and the pilgrim's coin, a bridge of logic and craftsmanship that spans the city of Alexandria. The scent of the workshop, that mixture of oil, metal, and wood, is like a heavy, comforting blanket. You find yourself leaning back on the stool, your head resting against the cool, stone wall. You watch a small spider spinning a web between two bronze pipes, its movements as precise and mechanical as any of Hero's inventions. The spider doesn't hurry. It simply follows the internal logic of its own design, creating a masterpiece of geometry in the shadows. You find the sight incredibly hypnotic, the tiny, rhythmic movements of the legs, and the silver thread catching the light. Everything in this room, from the master engineer to the smallest insect, is a part of the same grand, mechanical narrative. You think about the long, slow process of filing a bronze gear. You imagine the sound, a soft, rhythmic rasping of metal on metal, and the way the gray shavings fall like snow onto the workbench. It is a task that requires hours of concentration and a steady hand. It is boring work, the kind of work that allows the mind to wander and settle. You find yourself drifting with that imaginary sound, the rasp of the file creating a steady, comforting rhythm in your thoughts. You are in no rush to leave this space. The world outside, with its politics and its commerce, feels like a distant, fading dream. Here, there is only the slow, certain progress of the machine. The oil in the lamps is burning low, and the amber light is becoming even softer and more diffused. The shadows are growing longer, reaching out to cover the workbenches and the models. You see the mechanical organ in the corner as a dark, elegant silhouette, its pipes looking like a row of silent sentinels. You feel a sense of profound peace, a realization that the laws of physics are the ultimate source of order in the universe. No matter what happens in the world of men, the lever will always pivot, the weight will always fall, and the water will always flow. This certainty is the ultimate lullaby, a steady and reliable anchor that allows you to let go of your worries and sink into the night. You imagine the workshop at dawn, when the first light of the sun touches the bronze gears and turns them to gold. You see Hero returning to his bench, his mind clear and his hands ready for another day of creation. But for now, the workshop is a place of rest. The tools are still, the forge is cool, and the machines are dreaming their mechanical dreams. You are a part of this stillness, a quiet observer in a world of ancient wonders. You let your breathing become a slow, rhythmic tide, a deep and peaceful cadence that leads you toward the morning. You are calm, you are relaxed, and you are ready to follow the story of the first vending machine as it moves from the master's workshop into the rituals of the gods. The story of the workshop is a story of potential. It is a place where ideas are forged into reality, where the invisible is made visible, and where the human spirit finds expression in the language of mechanics. You let that sense of potential fill your mind, a quiet and comforting presence that guides you toward the quietest corners of history. You are drifting on a sea of bronze and steam, the soft, rhythmic hum of the Aeolipile a steady guide through the darkness. Everything is as it should be. The master is at rest, the workshop is safe, and the future is waiting in the sketches on the table. You are ready to dream of gears and pulleys, of levers and valves, and of the brilliant mind that brought them all together in a single, elegant bronze urn. You step back out of Hero's workshop, the heavy timber door closing behind you with a muffled, solid thud that seems to vibrate softly in the soles of your feet. The night air of Alexandria is now a deep, velvety indigo, wrapping around you like a cool linen sheet. You feel the humidity from the harbor clinging to your skin, a moist embrace that softens the dry heat still radiating from the city's stone walls. You begin to walk slowly back toward the temple district, your pace leisurely and unhurried. There is a profound sense of continuity in your movement, a rhythmic cadence that carries you through the quiet gardens of the museum. You notice the way the silver moonlight filters through the leaves of the olive trees, casting a delicate, lace-like pattern of shadows across the path. Every step you take is a deliberate movement, a slow transition from the world of the engineer back to the world of the gods. The temple of Serapis looks different in the middle of the night. The grand marble columns, which seemed so bright and imposing in the afternoon sun, now stand as dark, silent sentinels against the stars. You enter the courtyard once more, and the air immediately changes, becoming heavy with the scent of aged stone and the sweet, lingering traces of burnt mirror. The bronze vessel is still there, resting on its dark pedestal, its polished surface reflecting the faint, flickering light of a single oil lamp left burning near the entrance. You find yourself standing before it again, not as a curious traveler, but as someone who understands the secret heart beating inside the metal. You feel a sense of quiet respect for this object, a machine that manages the intersection of the human and the divine with mathematical precision. It is a mainstream historical fact that Hero did not stop at the vending machine. He used the same principles of pneumatics and hydraulics to create miracles. Throughout the temples of the ancient world, you imagine a group of pilgrims standing before a set of massive bronze doors. As the priest lights a fire on the altar, the air inside a hidden chamber expands, forcing water into a bucket that slowly descends, pulling a system of ropes and pulleys that cause the great doors to swing open, as if moved by an invisible hand. You think about the rhythmic wearing of those hidden gears, and the way the faithful would have gasped at the sight. It was a world where technology was used to enhance the spiritual experience, turning the laws of physics into a form of sacred theater. You find yourself reaching into your pouch once more, though you do not need the water. It is the ritual you crave, the steady, predictable cycle of the machine. You pull out a final coin, a heavy silver drachma that feels cool and substantial in your palm. You run your thumb over the smooth face of the coin, feeling the slight indentations of the ruler's crown. You move your hand toward the slot, and you notice the way the bronze around the opening is worn down, a physical record of thousands of similar acts. You drop the coin. The sound is a soft, metallic slide, a rhythmic pulse that marks the beginning of the mechanical dance. You wait, your breathing deep and regular, as the weight of the silver travels down the wooden chute. Inside the vessel, the lever tilts, the string pulls, and the valve lifts. You watch the swan-necked spout, and for a heartbeat, nothing happens. Then the first drop of water appears, a clear, shimmering jewel that hangs for a fraction of a second before falling into the basin. A quirky and fringed tidbit that adds a layer of sensory detail to this moment is the possibility that the water dispensed by these machines was often scented with a drop of rosewater or infused with hyssop. As the stream begins to flow, a faint, floral aroma rises from the basin, mixing with the cool night air. It is a tiny, automated luxury, a way to make the act of purification feel even more special. The machine is not just providing a service, it is providing an atmosphere, a regulated moment of sensory grace. You hold your hands under the stream, the cool, scented water washing over your skin. You feel the moisture seeping into your pores, a refreshing sensation that seems to clear away the mental clutter of the day. Historians still argue whether these devices were viewed by the ancient priesthood as pious frauds, tricks designed to deceive the uneducated into believing the gods were physically present, or if they were seen as a genuine celebration of human reason. Perhaps the ancient mind did not see a conflict between the gear and the ghost. To them, the fact that a man could build a machine to dispense holy water might have been the ultimate proof that the gods had gifted humanity with the spark of intelligence. You find the thought peaceful, a way to reconcile the logic of the workshop with the mystery of the temple. You watch the water flow, and you think about the mathematical precision required to ensure that every pilgrim received exactly the same amount. Heroes' designs were not approximations. They were based on a deep understanding of volume and weight. The machine doesn't get tired, it doesn't get distracted, and it doesn't show favoritism. It treats everyone with the same unyielding fairness. You find a strange comfort in this mechanical equality. In a world that could be unpredictable and often unfair, the bronze urn offered a small, certain truth. If you provided the weight, you received the water. It is a lullaby of cause and effect, a steady rhythm that allows your mind to settle into a state of quiet contemplation. The coin slides off the internal plate, and you hear the muffled sound of it falling into the collection box. The lever swings back, and the water flow stops with a soft, final drip. The courtyard returns to its state of silent, moonlit rest. You stand there for a long time, the moisture on your hands slowly evaporating in the breeze. You notice the way the moonlight catches the ripples in the basin, creating a moving tapestry of silver and black. The world is so still that you can hear the faint rustle of the palm trees outside the temple walls, a soft, rhythmic shushing sound that matches the flow of your own thoughts. You feel a sense of profound relaxation, a drifting, dreamy state where the boundaries of time and space seem to dissolve. You think about the concept of automated offerings. In some of Hero's other designs, a coin didn't just buy water, it could trigger a mechanical bird to sing or a bronze figure to pour a libation. You imagine a temple filled with these small, whirring wonders, a landscape of spiritual automation. You wonder if the gods preferred these perfect, mechanical rituals to the messy, unpredictable offerings of humans. A machine never forgets a step, never loses its place in a prayer, and never grows bored. There is a certain beauty in that perfection, a quiet, rhythmic consistency that mirrors the movement of the stars. You find yourself looking up through the open roof at the constellations, seeing them as a vast, celestial machine, turning with the same logic as the bronze urn at your side. The temperature has dropped further, and you feel the cool stone of the pedestal through the sleeve of your robe as you lean against it. The bronze is no longer warm from the sun. It has taken on the chill of the night. You find the contact refreshing, a solid and stable anchor in the darkness. You are in no rush to leave. The city of Alexandria is asleep. The great library is silent, and the harbor is a mirror of black glass. Here in the sanctuary, you are safe, tucked away in a corner of history, where the only thing that matters is the steady, rhythmic pulse of the night. You let your eyes close, and you find yourself visualizing the internal workings of the machine one last time. The lever, the string, the valve, all resting in a state of perfect, expectant balance. You imagine the machine as it will look 1,000 years from now, buried under the layers of the city or resting at the bottom of the sea. Even then, the logic of its design will remain. If someone were to find it, to clean the bronze and replace the gut string, it would work exactly as it does tonight. It is a timeless object, a piece of engineering that exists outside the rise and fall of empires. You feel a sense of awe at this endurance, a quiet appreciation for the permanence of a good idea. The first vending machine is not just a relic of the past. It is a promise for the future, a sign that the things we create with care and precision can outlast us all. The scent of the lilies is fading as the night deepens, replaced by the crisp, clean smell of the pre-dawn air. You feel a gentle heaviness in your limbs, a sign that your body is ready for sleep. The walk through the city, the time in the workshop, and the rituals of the temple have all brought you to this point of total relaxation. You are a silent observer in a world of ancient wonders, and the story of the bronze urn has become a mechanical lullaby that is guiding you toward rest. You let your breathing become a slow, rhythmic tide, a deep and peaceful cadence that matches the stillness of the temple. You think about the priests who will come into the courtyard in a few hours to begin the day's work. They will empty the coins, refill the water, and polish the bronze until it shines like a new sun. The cycle will begin again, a continuous loop of service and ritual. You find the thought of that repetition incredibly soothing. There is a comfort in knowing that some things are predictable, that the machine will be here tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. It is a steady, reliable presence in an ever-changing world. You let that certainty anchor you, providing a sense of stability that allows your mind to finally let go. The shadows in the courtyard are at their longest and darkest now, just before the first hint of light begins to touch the horizon. The bronze vessel is a dark, elegant shape, its swan neck bowed in the gloom. You feel a sense of companionship with the machine, a shared stillness that is both profound and peaceful. You are both waiting for the morning, but for now, you are content to exist in the quiet of the night. You are calm. You are relaxed. and you are ready to drift away on the soft, steady hum of the first vending machine's legacy. Everything is in its place. The gears are silent, the water is still, and the temple is a sanctuary of dreams. You let your thoughts wander through the history of the machine, seeing it as a bridge between the ancient world and the modern world, between the sacred and the mundane. It is a story of balance, of weight and measure, and of the simple joy of a predictable result. You let that sense of balance fill your mind, a steady and comforting presence that leads you toward sleep. The night is long, the sanctuary is safe, and the ancient engines of the world are watching over you with a silent, mechanical grace. The golden age of Alexandria begins to fade in your mind, like the soft glow of a candle that has finally burned down to its base. You find yourself drifting through a long, quiet corridor of time, leaving the marble temples and the salt-sprinkled air of the Mediterranean behind. The world around you is shifting, the bright amber light of the Egyptian sun being replaced by the cool, filtered light of stone halls and the flickering shadows of lonely scriptoriums. You are entering the long silence, the centuries where the bronze urns were lost to the earth and the master engineer's workshop fell into ruin. But the story of the first vending machine does not end with the dust. It transforms into a story of ink, parchment, and the quiet persistence of human thought. You feel a sense of profound stillness as you trace this journey, a rhythmic movement through the layers of history that is as steady and reliable as the flow of the sacred water. You find yourself in a small, vaulted room deep within a medieval monastery. The walls are made of rough, gray stone that holds a deep, ancient chill, a contrast to the warmth of Alexandria. The air here is thick and still, smelling of beeswax, old leather, and the sharp, metallic tang of fresh iron gall ink. You sit at a heavy oak desk, your eyes following the movements of a scribe whose name has been forgotten by time. His movements are slow and rhythmic, a steady cadence of dipping a quill and dragging it across a sheet of vellum. He is copying a manuscript that has traveled thousands of miles and survived hundreds of years. It is a mainstream historical fact that Heroes Pneumatica survived the collapse of the ancient world largely through the efforts of Byzantine and Islamic scholars who recognized the value of the Greek mechanical tradition. Without these silent, dedicated workers, the blueprints for the first vending machine would have vanished forever. You watch the ink drying on the page, the dark letters forming the diagrams of levers, valves, and siphons. The scribe doesn't necessarily understand the physics of the machine he is drawing, but he treats the lines with a quiet reverence, ensuring that every angle and every curve is preserved exactly as it was on the original papyrus. You find the repetition of his work incredibly hypnotic. The scratching of the quill, the rustle of the parchment, and the steady flicker of the candle all combine to create a sanctuary of focus and peace. You feel your own breathing falling into the same rhythm as the scribe's hand, a deep and regular rise and fall that anchors you to this moment in the long journey of the machine. The world outside may be changing, empires rising and falling, wars being fought, and languages shifting. But here, in the quiet of the scriptorium, the knowledge of the bronze urn remains safe. A quirky and fringe tidbit that adds a touch of mystery to this era is the idea that Heroes' designs didn't just stay on the page. They occasionally reappeared as trick, vessels and mechanical amusements in the courts of medieval kings and caliphs. There are accounts of royal banquets where guests were amazed by fountains that could pour 3 different colors of wine from a single spout, or by mechanical lions that roared when the sun hit a specific censer. These were the direct descendants of the Alexandrian machines, simplified versions of Hero's genius used to entertain and inspire wonder in a world that had forgotten the original purpose of the automated temple water. You imagine a grand hall filled with the scent of roasted meat and the sound of lutes, where a small, bronze-plated machine provides a moment of mechanical magic for a crowded room. The vending machine had become a curiosity, a hidden secret past between the elites of the Middle Ages. You find yourself moving again, the stone walls of the monastery dissolving into the warm, dry air of a library in Baghdad. This is the House of Wisdom, a place where the greatest minds of the Islamic Golden Age gathered to translate the wisdom of the Greeks into Arabic. The light here is bright and golden, filtered through high-arched windows that look out over gardens of date palms and jasmine. You feel a sense of intellectual energy in this space, a bustling but quiet pursuit of understanding. Historians still argue whether the technology of the ancient world was truly lost during this time, or if it was simply hidden in plain sight, integrated into the clocks, pumps, and fountains that made the cities of the East the wonders of their age. Some believe that the principles of the vending machine were never forgotten, but were simply adapted for more practical, civil uses in a society that valued hygiene and public order. You see a group of scholars huddled over a copy of Pneumatica, their voices a low, rhythmic murmur as they debate the function of a specific valve. They are not just copying the text, they are testing the ideas, building their own versions of the machines to see if the physics still holds true. You notice a small, experimental model on a table, a wooden box that uses a falling weight to open a shutter. It is a variation of the temple door mechanism, a piece of the Alexandrian puzzle being reassembled in a new land. The continuity of the thought is incredibly peaceful, a reminder that good ideas are resilient. They may be buried under layers of dust or translated into new tongues, but they remain unchanged in their fundamental logic. The lever still pivots, the weight still falls, and the story of the first vending machine continues to unfold with a slow, steady grace. The air in the library is cool and welcoming, a soft breeze carrying the scent of the desert and the spicy aroma of the nearby markets. You feel a sense of profound relaxation as you drift through this world of manuscripts and translation. You are a passenger on a journey that spans continents and centuries, a witness to the survival of a single, brilliant idea. You think about the path of the scrolls, from Alexandria to Constantinople, from Baghdad to Toledo, and eventually to the great universities of the Renaissance. It is a long, rhythmic loop, a cycle of loss and rediscovery that mirrors the movement of the internal lever in the bronze urn. You find your eyes becoming heavy, the sight of the golden light on the parchment making it easy to sink into a state of deep, comfortable relaxation. As you drift, you imagine the arrival of the printing press in Europe. Suddenly, the knowledge that had been kept safe by a handful of scribes and scholars is multiplied by the thousands. You see the first printed editions of Hero's work, the woodcut illustrations showing the vending machine with a clarity that the hand, Drawn diagrams sometimes lacked. You imagine a young inventor in the 16th century, perhaps in Italy or Germany, opening one of these books and feeling the same spark of curiosity that Hero felt 2,000 years before. He sees the lever and the coin slot, and he begins to dream of his own machines. The silent centuries are over, and the mechanical mind of Alexandria is beginning to wake up in the heart of a new world. The story is moving faster now, the rhythm of invention accelerating as the Industrial Revolution begins to appear on the horizon. You think about the boring reality of preservation. The hours spent sitting in cold rooms, the eyes strained by candlelight, and the hands cramped from holding a quill. These are the unsung acts of heroism that allowed the first vending machine to return to us. You find a sense of security in this effort, a feeling that the world values its history, enough to protect it through the long, dark periods of uncertainty. The manuscript is a bridge, a solid and reliable connection between the mind of the master engineer and the hands of the modern inventor. You let your thoughts settle on the texture of the vellum, the way it feels slightly oily and incredibly durable. It is the skin of history, holding the memories of the past safe for the future. The sound of the scriptorium and the library fades into a soft, ambient hum, a background noise that emphasizes the quiet of the night. You are calm, you are relaxed, and you are ready to see the final return of the machine. You feel a gentle heaviness in your limbs, a sign that the journey through the centuries has brought you to a point of total relaxation. The scrolls are safe, the translations are complete, and the stage is set for the rebirth of the automated world. You are a silent observer in this long, slow narrative, and the story of the bronze urn has become a lullaby of preservation and persistence. Everything is as it should be. The knowledge is waiting, the world is turning. And the first vending machine is about to be rediscovered in the bustling stations of a new century. You imagine the final journey of the text, the way it moved from the sacred to the scientific, from the temple to the laboratory. It is a transition that mirrors the change in the world itself, a movement toward order, efficiency, and the celebration of the human mind. You let your breathing become a slow, rhythmic tide, a deep and peaceful cadence that leads you toward the end of the night. You are at peace with the long silence of the centuries, knowing that it was not a void, but a period of quiet preparation. The machine was never truly gone. It was just resting, waiting for the right moment to emerge once more and offer its mechanical gifts to a new generation of pilgrims. The shadows of the library are deep and soft, providing a comfortable space for your mind to wander. You see the books on the shelves as rows of silent friends, each holding a piece of the puzzle. You feel a sense of gratitude for the scholars and the scribes, the nameless protectors of the master's work. Their dedication is the heartbeat of this section of the story, a steady and reliable pulse that ensures the continuity of the narrative. You let that pulse guide you toward sleep, your mind clear and your heart steady, as you prepare for the final chapter of the journey. The story of the first vending machine is almost complete, but the legacy of the bronze urn is eternal. Everything is in its place. The ink is dry, the parchment is rolled, and the world of the Middle Ages is a landscape of shadows and dreams. You are part of this stillness, a quiet observer in the long history of the mechanical mind. You let your breathing become a slow, rhythmic tide, a deep and peaceful cadence that matches the stillness of the library. You are calm, you are relaxed, and you are ready to drift away on the soft, steady hum of the first vending machine's legacy. You are standing on a threshold where the ancient world finally meets the modern, a place where the shadows of Alexandria's marble columns transform into the tall, soot-stained pillars of a Victorian railway station. The air around you has shifted once more. It no longer carries the scent of lilies and sun-baked stone, but is instead thick with the heavy, industrial aroma of coal smoke, hot iron, and the damp, persistent fog of a London evening. You feel a gentle vibration beneath your feet, the rhythmic, distant chugging of a steam locomotive pulling into the platform. It is a slow, steady pulse that feels remarkably similar to the mechanical heart of Hero's workshop. You are walking through a world of brass and velvet, a world that has finally rediscovered the secret of the bronze urn after nearly 2,000 years of quiet waiting. As you move through the station, the flickering yellow glow of the gas lamps creates a series of warm pools of light on the damp wooden platform. You notice a tall, imposing cabinet made of cast iron and painted a deep, regal red. It stands near the ticket office, its brass fittings gleaming like small, captured stars in the gloom. This is a moment of profound return. It is a mainstream historical fact that in 1883, a man named Percival Everett introduced the first modern coin-operated vending machine on London's railway stations, designed to dispense postcards and note paper to travellers. You find yourself standing before this machine, feeling a strange sense of recognition. It is larger and heavier than the vessel in the temple of Serapis, but as you run your hand over the cool, painted metal, you realize that the soul of the machine is exactly the same. You reach into the pocket of your heavy wool coat and find a large copper penny. It is thick and cool, its surface embossed with the profile of the Queen. You feel the weight of the metal, a physical constant that connects you to the pilgrims of Alexandria. You position the penny at the mouth of the coin slot, which is framed by an ornate brass plate. You release it, and the sound is a satisfying, metallic click as the coin enters the mechanism. You imagine the internal world of the machine, a landscape of steel springs, balanced levers, and heavy iron weights. Unlike the gut strings and bronze plugs of the ancient world, this machine uses the strength of industrial metals, yet it still obeys the same unyielding laws of gravity and leverage that Hero mapped out on his papyrus scrolls. Inside the red cabinet, the penny lands on a balanced arm. You imagine the movement a slow, decisive tilt that releases a catch, allowing a small drawer or a tray to slide forward. You pull a small brass handle at the front of the machine, and with a rhythmic, mechanical sigh, a single, crisp postcard emerges from the slot. You take the card in your hand, feeling the texture of the thick paper. It is a simple object, a piece of convenience for a busy world. Yet it represents the culmination of a journey that began in a workshop in the museum. The vending machine has returned to the public sphere, no longer a sacred vessel but a silent, reliable servant of the industrial age. You find a quiet irony in the fact that it took 2 millennia for humanity to realize that the same physics used to dispense holy water could be used to sell stationery to commuters. The station around you is a landscape of rhythmic motion. You see the station master checking his pocket watch, the porters moving luggage trolleys with a steady, wooden rattle, and the steam rising from the engine in great, billowing clouds. A quirky and fringe tidbit that adds a touch of mystery to this Victorian rebirth is that some of the earliest machines were used to sell forbidden or controversial books, providing a discreet, anonymous way for the public to access literature that might have been frowned upon in a traditional shop. The machine, in its unblinking, non-judgmental nature, became a tool of quiet rebellion, a mechanical gatekeeper that served everyone equally. You imagine a traveler in a top hat glancing around before dropping a penny to receive a small, paper-bound volume, the transaction completed in a few seconds of silent clockwork. Historians still argue whether the extreme automation of our modern world has made our lives truly better, or if we have lost a sense of human connection that was present in the personal exchanges of the ancient marketplace. Some suggest that the convenience of the machine has turned us into passive consumers, while others argue that the vending machine is the ultimate symbol of democratization, providing a fair and consistent service to every person regardless of their social standing. You find yourself leaning toward the latter. There is a certain beauty in the machine's indifference. It doesn't care if you are a duke or a docker. It only cares that your penny is the correct weight. It is a master of fairness, a silent enforcer of the mechanical contract that hero of Alexandria first envisioned. You find a wooden bench on the platform and sit down, the postcard resting in your lap. The fog is thickening, softening the edges of the station and turning the distant lights into blurry, amber orbs. You feel a sense of total relaxation, a drifting state where the past and the present seem to overlap. You are in London, but you are also in Alexandria. You are watching a steam train, but you are also hearing the splash of water in a marble basin. The machine is the bridge, the fixed point that holds these worlds together. You notice the way the light of the gas lamp reflects off the brass handle of the vending machine, a steady, comforting glow that reminds you of the flickering oil lamps in the temple. The rhythm of the station, the distant whistles, the clanking of metal, the muffled voices, becomes a mechanical lullaby that encourages you to stay just a little longer in this moment of quiet history. The story of the machine continues to move forward, shifting from the soot and steam of the Victorian era into the bright, clinical world of the 20th century. You imagine the arrival of the automat, those grand, chrome-plated restaurants where walls of glass windows offered full meals for a handful of nickels. You see a row of machines dispensing slices of pie, cups of hot coffee, and plates of sandwiches, all with the turn of a knob and the click of a coin. It was the high-tech dream of the 1940s, a place of speed and efficiency that felt like a glimpse into a future of total automation. The air in the automat is bright and smells of freshly brewed coffee and floor wax. You hear the rhythmic clinking of coins and the soft, percussive snap of the glass doors opening and closing. It is a symphony of convenience, a world where the vending machine has become the center of communal life. You find yourself drifting even further, moving into the neon-lit streets of the modern city. The red cast iron cabinets and the chrome automats have given way to sleek, glowing boxes of plastic and glass. You stand before a modern machine in the quiet hours of a contemporary midnight. The hum of the refrigeration system is a steady, white noise drone that is incredibly soothing. The machine no longer uses gut strings or iron levers. It uses infrared sensors, digital processors, and electric motors. Yet, when you tap your card against the reader, you are still performing the same fundamental act. You are providing value, and in return, the machine is providing a result. You watch a mechanical spiral turn slowly, a rhythmic movement that eventually drops a bottle of water into the bin below. The sound of the bottle hitting the plastic tray is the modern version of the coin hitting the internal plate. The modern world is filled with these silent guardians, standing in airports, office buildings, and street corners. They have become so common that we often forget the centuries of thought and the thousands of miles of travel that brought them to us. But as you stand in the quiet of the night, you see them for what they truly are, the descendants of heroes bronze on. You feel a sense of profound peace in this realization, a feeling that the world is a connected and orderly place. The genius of Alexandria is still at work all around you, hidden in the circuits and the glass of our automated servants. You let your breathing become slow and deep, the rhythmic hum of the machine acting as a steady anchor for your thoughts. The night is very still now, and the city around you has fallen into its own deep, restful slumber. You feel a gentle heaviness in your limbs, a sign that the journey through the history of the vending machine has finally brought you to a point of total relaxation. You have traveled from the golden haze of Egypt to the foggy stations of London and into the neon glow of the present. You have seen the machine as a sacred vessel, a courtly toy, a Victorian convenience, and a modern necessity. It is a narrative of resilience and persistence, a mechanical story that has been told through the language of weight and measure for over 2,000 years. You think about Hero one last time. You imagine him standing in his workshop, his eyes tired, but his mind full of the future. He didn't know about steam trains or digital sensors, but he knew about the lever and the valve. He knew that the laws of physics are eternal, and that a good idea, once set in motion, can never truly be stopped. You feel a sense of gratitude for his restless curiosity, for the scribes who copied his scrolls, and for the inventors who rediscovered his work. They have all contributed to the quiet, mechanical pulse that you feel in the air tonight. You are part of this continuity, a silent observer of a legacy that spans the entirety of human history. The light of the modern machine is soft and diffused, casting long, colorful shadows across the pavement. You move away from the glowing box and walk slowly toward home, your footsteps making a soft, rhythmic sound in the empty street. The air is cool and welcoming, a soft embrace that encourages you to let go of the day's worries. You feel a sense of total security, a realization that the world is governed by steady and reliable laws that never change. The lever will always pivot, the weight will always fall, and the machine will always be there, waiting in the shadows of the morning. You reach your door and step inside, the quiet of your home wrapping around you like a familiar blanket. You feel a sense of completion, a realization that the story has reached its natural end. The vending machine is no longer a mystery. It is a friend, a silent partner in the long history of human ingenuity. You let your thoughts wander through the marble halls of Alexandria and the foggy platforms of London one last time. seeing them as different chapters in the same beautiful book. You are calm, you are relaxed, and you are ready for sleep. Everything is in its place. The gears are silent, the water is still, and the world is a sanctuary of dreams. You let your breathing become a slow, rhythmic tide, a deep and peaceful cadence that leads you into the morning. The journey is over. The machines are at rest, and the first vending machine is watching over you with a silent, mechanical grace. Now that our journey through the corridors of time is drawing to a close, it is time to let the images of bronze urns and Victorian platforms fade into the soft, quiet corners of your mind. You have walked through the warm dust of Alexandria and felt the cool fog of London, following a thread of human genius that has stretched across 2,000 years. The story of the first vending machine is now a part of your own memory, a gentle and rhythmic narrative that has brought you to this place of deep, undisturbed peace. You feel the weight of the day lifting, replaced by a sense of profound relaxation that starts at your toes and moves slowly upward, softening every muscle and calming every thought. The world outside your window is growing even quieter, the sounds of life receding into a distant, muffled hum. You are tucked away in your own sanctuary, safe and warm, surrounded by the soft, comforting shadows of the night. You find yourself focusing on the rhythm of your own breathing, a steady and natural cadence that matches the slow, mechanical pulse of the history we have explored together. There is no rush, no destination, and no need for anything more than this moment of perfect stillness. You are drifting on a sea of quiet thoughts, carried by the gentle tide of a story that has finally found its rest. The machines of the ancient world and the modern era are all at rest now, their gears silent and their spirits still. You let the image of the swan-necked spout and the silver stream of water be the last thing you see, a final, shimmering blessing from a world of logic and grace. You are calm. You are safe. You are ready to let the night take you wherever it will. The journey is complete, and the stars are watching over you with a silent, eternal light.